Are you joining us, Teddy? Are you going to join us? Are you? Is there something you wanted to say? Maybe. Okay. How about hello and welcome to Pet Talk? Would you want to do that? Hello and welcome to Pet Talk. What do you think? Maybe? Well, I'll start and then you can join. Is that okay? Hello and welcome to Pet Talk with me, Anna Isabel. And this is, who are you? Oh, we're not very chatty today. Last time we could hardly stop talking. Shall we try again? There we are. There's Teddy. Okay, so should we try it again? Hello and welcome to Pet Talk with me, Anna, and Teddy. Perfect. And would you like to introduce our guest? We are joined by Dr. Amaya Espindola. Hello. Hello, Amaya.
Hello. That was a great introduction.
We had to warm up a little bit. After all, Teddy has just woken up after having a warm shower and a bath after rolling in mud. So he was very cozy, but it's good to have him join us. And it's wonderful to have you because you are a very rare breed, I think. You are the president of the Raw Feeding Veterinary Society, but you specialize in working with cats.
In cats. There you can see a tip of it.
And there you are.
Cat.
Yes. A beautiful cat.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to be able to talk about cats. We've not had anyone on Pet Talk doing that before, so you're extra welcome.
Thank you very much. I really enjoy this kind of talks, so happy to be here.
I guess, having a dog, I'm very aware of the challenges that dogs face being in a human world. I have also I've had the wonderful pleasure of living with 3 cats in my lifetime. And I'm wondering, from your perspective, what are the challenges that cats face living in a human world?
Okay. It's a very interesting question and quite long, so stop me whenever you feel like I'm really going. Well, the first one I would say is living indoors. There are some countries such as Spain that most cats are indoor unless you live on a countryside and then you have access to outdoors. But normally you don't have the same relationship. You just simply feed the cats around, right? But then if it's your cat, it's probably indoor only, right? And I think that's one of the challenges and misconceptions that we have. And it's not that it's bad to have a cat indoor, but we need to realize that that's not their natural environment. And that has consequences. And from that perspective, then you can you can decide better what to do and how to improve their quality of life, right? If they have access like dogs, they go out, if they go out, mostly they do. If they go out, they have the chance to connect with nature, to recharge and go back to connecting with a human. But if a cat gets accustomed to live indoors and doesn't like to go out, they are always facing the energy of that person over and over again. So any distress that you have, anything you are going through, it's going to be also affecting your cat. And that also, it's important to, and if you have more cats, then it's a bigger family. If you have a family, a human family, then it's more people. And then if you have too many people, too many individuals in that house, it will affect the space, right? Because cats, most people said they're domesticated. For me, they are not. And I don't think in a way, any animal is entirely domesticated, because if you if you give them the chance to go within nature again, they suddenly, it's like click, and then they go back to their normal activities. And cats are very good solving problems. So one of the things that I don't like, that it's always said about cats, is that, cats are neophobic, cats are this, they don't like change, they don't like this, or they don't like that. For me, that's not true, in the sense that if it's an animal that actually it's really good solving problems, then it has to have an adaptation to change, because otherwise, they will perish. And and the reason this is happening, it's because we create an environment so routinely, so automatic, so strict, that when you change, it's the end of the world. But if they live in nature, suddenly they can adapt to anything. So if we have that perception, if we understand that it's not about home enrichment as the way, oh yes, I have to put a scratching post or anything in the house. It's about thinking what you are doing living with this animal that has a connection to nature. So it's an opportunity for you as a human to connect with nature, and it's an opportunity for them to go outside their comfort zone and connect with the human.
Oh, I hadn't even considered cats living indoors, because I have to say I have never met a cat that just lived indoors. Because in England, in the British Isles, largely cats are still fairly free to roam.
Yes.
And they have their homes, but most people will have cat flaps. Where it's more common, I think, is if they happen to live in apartments and it's harder for them to have access out. But even then, I think a lot of people make the effort to let their cats out. So it's almost a shock to be reminded that there are parts of the world where cats are considered to be indoors, and
Spain is one of them.
To enjoy, to actually imagine what that's like for a cat.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And this is the thing. There is a in Spain, for example, there is it's kind of not allowed. It's not, well, it's not in the law right there, right? But it's kind of, the cats are indoor, so they're assuming that you are going to keep them indoor. And there are dangers outside if you allow your cat to go out. For example, my cats are indoor. I try to get my Maine Coon with a leash and a harness, and everything was fine. We would take walks, and it's not like taking a walk with a dog. Actually, she takes you out. It's kind of, you have to go on their pace and do, and just, but I just want it because it's a breed that needs to be outdoor. But suddenly, the noises, the cars, because I live in a small town, but still, it's there are noises that she wouldn't expect, and it became harder and harder every time. So in the end, it was not something we would enjoy. Then you have the struggle about the cats killing the fauna of the surroundings, which is also connected with the food, with what they are being fed and the activity they get inside, right? Because there are studies that show that if your cats are raw fed or natural feed, and then they play inside, they have a connection with their human, they won't seek play outside, because most of the time when they hunt and they kill, they don't eat it. But if they are bored, it's more likely for them to go and play, and suddenly accidentally kill a bird or anything, any other animal. And then if you can prevent that by feeding them properly, and then give them the time to play, so they don't need to do that. They can roam and they can connect with nature. People are surprised sometimes that they can connect with other pets, such as bunnies or birds, or the cat sleeping near them. And that's about resources. It's about need. It's about what's covered and what it's not. It's not that they are all incredibly bad predators, right? So I find that cats are very misunderstood in that sense, and we don't do anything to change it.
No, cats are badly misunderstood, I think, is possibly an understatement. That has been the case for centuries, all across, linked with all sorts of superstitions. So, yes, they are. And I think I I'm always distressed when I see the attempts to control animals, um, attempts that really are going to interfere with their natural behaviors. Dogs will bark. It's what they're going to do. They are going to guard their homes. It's what they're going to do. Um, they will sniff. They need to run. Um, and I'm noticing more and more these attempts to limit um, the ability of dogs to walk off lead or to run off lead on beaches, for instance, and places like that. And it's very distressing, because what it's showing is how alienated we are from nature when we try to do this. And now you're talking about it with respect to cats, and now wanting to restrict cats to be indoors so that they don't hunt.
To date, yeah.
And I find that utterly shocking. Again, it's this, we're the ones with the problem with nature, but we are really projecting it onto animals, aren't we?
Mm-hmm. And this is the same thing with everything. I work a lot with animal protection services, and you can tell how poor. I know that it's what we do what we do is necessary at a certain point, because otherwise it would be a mess, because we need that connection to nature, right? But that's not an excuse. You can be nurturing cats or marking them or doing anything you want because you have feral colonies, and that's great. It's a way to sustain it, but you should actually think about how to improve it somewhere else, because that's not, they look at this as a solution when it's not a solution. It's a patch that we are putting on a situation that it's going out of control, and it's justified. So this is what I find very strong. Well, she's good. My other cat is coming soon. It's for me, it's kind of annoying in a certain way, but it's what sparks this what I'm doing for cats. The idea that I understand what we are doing is necessary for the situation that we have now. It's like when you do, when you give an antibiotic or an anti-inflammatory, because it's necessary at a certain point, but that's not what it's going to keep the animal healthy, right? Mm-hmm. So the same thing, if you have that problem, then it's showing you that we have a problem, and we need to figure it out in the long term, what to do to fix that. And that's kind of how I see everything we do as humans. We're trying to patch it up, forget about it, and think that's a big and great solution. And this is what it's causing abandonment in cats. Then here in the summer in Mallorca, it's crazy how many cats you can find, because people are not aware of how, if you're going to leave your cat outdoors, then maybe you need to neuter, because that's the solution that we have in between. They don't have this consciousness. They don't even know what vaccines are the ones that we should give to our cats. So if you want to have a solution long term, then we should start educating about food, educating about the roots in nature, what motivates a cat to do what they do. Because if we look at the studies, for example, about cats, feral cats, there was a study about how cats actually do not reproduce if they don't have enough resources. So if you didn't feed the cats outside, or we didn't leave too much trash around, we wouldn't have that many cats reproducing all the time. Just because they are very smart, and we don't allow that to happen. We don't allow anything because we feel like we need to control, we need to protect. It's kind of, we feel like we are the big brother with that big responsibility, but we are not. We don't have a clue of what we are doing. So every time I look at the guideline for cats, how we should treat cats in a practice, how we should treat, it's kind of, I just go like this and I say, just observe the cat and act accordingly. Don't expect to if I put pheromones, that's it. That's the solution for everything. I had cats reacting to pheromones really, really bad, right? So just try to look at the cat, at any animal you encounter, and observe and then act. Be present and then act. They are the chance for you to connect to nature, not the other way around. We are not anybody's big brother because we don't know what we're doing.
No, we clearly don't know what we're doing if we think that locking cats up is the solution. And I hear these calls in this country, but at least at the moment, the calls are to keep them in at dusk and dawn, which is when most likely to go out hunting.
Which a better solution
is a more reasonable solution, although I'm always wary at solutions of that kind, because that it's not going to stop there. At some point it'll be something else. So okay, so we've outlined a big dilemma that many cats in different parts of the world are facing. Human made, obviously.
Yes.
What do you feel cats need in order to be happy? So if we took humans out of the equation, what do we know about feline nature that tells us this is what they need in order to feel content, safe, and happy?
Well, there is a fantastic book that I've read recently. It's called The Feline Philosophy. And actually it was written by someone graduated by politics or something like that. And but he expresses how different philosophers around the world have spoken about cats and how they felt they lived their lives, from their perspective and point of view. But in the end, he says something, I will try to remember. He says something like, the cat is happy just being there. The cat can adapt to anything. It just, he's hedonistic. He likes to, encounter pleasure and whatever it is there, he's excited by every moment. And he doesn't have to do anything to be a cat. He's always going to be a cat, something that we should learn as humans, because we tend to, I am this, I am that, I am, we create all these characters to be or belong. And the cat will never change that. He knows exactly who he is or who she is. And they act accordingly from their pleasure points. They are hunters, of course, they they predate, they play, or their lives, it's, sleeping, having fun, it's all like that. So if you want to make sure your cat is happy, just understand that, because in the beginning, just as a human, we believe, we have a certain belief system, right? We think that you have to work hard, you have to do this, you have to be that. But what I found, and this is kind of my own journey with cats, is that they are showing you to be just you and be happy, not even petting your cat, just being with them. And I've noticed that when you're able as a human to sit down near them and just, like watch the horizon, like, like nothing, and stay present just with them, you can see how their behavior changes, and then you get like and a different way to communicate with them.
You know, that is so profoundly true. When I think about the three cats who I was lucky enough to share life with, they loved just being with me. And in fact, I would say that's probably the same for dogs too.
It
It's
is.
just it's that feeling of just being together. And they loved nothing better than if I sat on the sofa for them, for me to be accessible to them.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that they were always, wanting to be on my lap or cuddle or anything like that, but they liked to have the option. That's what I
Yes.
said. They liked to have the option. And this business about cats being aloof, I have never found that to be true.
Yes.
Three cats I've had in my life, not one of them could be described as aloof. Adventurous, absolutely freedom loving, but always loving, always affectionate, and always enjoying being together. So so it really struck me what you said there.
It is. This is why I bring a different perspective in feline medicine and everything, because it kind of, it's the result of my own journey as a person, because I've been doing my personal growth and understanding what what my role is actually to know myself better. And when you know yourself better, you don't demand anything from anybody else, not an animal or anything. But if you think about what was most people first thought when they decide to have a pet, is that, oh, I would like to have a dog, or I'd like to have a cat to pet, to care. So it's your need, right? And you're not looking at their need. You think you know what their need, and this is what we do with children. This is the same thing. we we do the same every time. So animals, I think it's much better than children. So if you can practice with animals, that's much better in a way. But if you practice this of simply being, and if you have the need and your cat runs away, it's not because they love you more or less. Actually, what we know about love isn't love. The true love, it doesn't mean to be attached all the time. And for me, cats are masters of love, because they show you the independent love. I would say interdependent, because we need each other. It's clear. You feed me, it's comfortable. I don't have to run away and, find, or maybe today I'm not eating because, you're going to be there feeding me. And if it's an addictive food, great, because I am addicted and I like, the pleasure, the instant pleasure. And then great. But if I don't want to be pet at that time, I'm just going to go. And if you are in a very bad mood, or you just, you come from work exhausted and tired and angry or something, they're rarely going to be be at the door waiting for you. Some of them will. If they are anxious, probably they will. But it's not natural. But if you, when you can't come home, you release everything and say, "Hey guys, how are you?" And just, you will have dogs at your door, like, proper, like we imagine a dog would do. My cats, every time I come through the door, they are there, waiting for me, and sometimes trying to sneak out to see if they can go through the stairs of the apartments and stuff. But they are there. They are happy to see me. And if they are not, because, well, one of my cats, the Maine Coon, is deaf, so she sometimes she'll be sleeping and she wouldn't hear me come in. So if I come, I will go like, "Hey girl, I'm here." Because if she wakes up and sees me like moving around the house, she will, like, "Whoa, I missed something," right? So that's kind of the routine that you need to look for your cat. More natural. Try to find, not, "I want to pet you because I need to pet you," not feed you because, "Oh, you're asking me to feed you all the time, you're demanding, so I have to give." Cats are going to be opportunistic, and they will ask you and demand anything you allow them to.
And particularly if their entire world is their home, then of course that's going to be the case. But yes, our cats always greeted us, always. And one of them, used to, if she was upstairs, used to run down the stairs at full speed, wailing a hello as she came along through the excitement. And I also had it. One of mine was deaf, and what I used to do is I'd very gently go over to her when she was sleeping and just blow on her, wake her up, so that she knew we were back, and she'd be always, "Oh, hooray, you're back!"
Yeah.
So yes, there is that, and I think what I like about, and I say this is true of dogs too, is they are very honest. They're either in the mood to interact, or they're not, or they're otherwise engaged. If you arrive at my door, you will get the biggest welcome and hello from Teddy if he knows you, except if he's eating. He's got other things on it, or better still, I'm just about to serve him his breakfast or his dinner. He'll say, "Right, I'll talk to you later. I'm busy right now."
Yeah.
Honesty. And it was the same with our cats. When they were in the mood, they were in the mood, and when they weren't, they weren't. And I think you're right. It's the demands the expectation. I think, cats are always accused of being selfish.
Mm-hmm.
When they are not being selfish, they are being themselves. But it is the human selfish need for attention
That is selfish.
that labels the cat as selfish for not wanting to provide for the human on demand.
On demand, yes. And then you're annoyed because they are demanding you to feed them. So every time somebody tells me, "Oh, my cat demands that I open the door, that I close the door, that, all the things that you find on internet as a funny video," I would go and say, "And why are you demanding from the cat?" That's kind of my first question every time. It's like, what are you demanding? Because if they are acting like that, it's because it's a consequence of how you behave automatically. And now I'm going to start doing more videos about this, because behavior has always been one of my passions in cats. And I am going to say, many cat owners will tell me, "I can't sleep at night because I have cats," and I'm like, "I can't wake up." Because they are cuddling with me, and I'm like, "Okay, thermometers, let's go." But they would say this, and it's a very common question. I can't sleep because my cats are waking me up at dawn, or even earlier in the morning. And I would ask, what are you feeding them? What are the routines you have with them? Are they alone all day, and then you come back? Do they have access outdoors or not? Do they have anything to enjoy themselves? Because that's what they do. It's not about selfishness. It's about happy. It's seek happiness all the time, momentarily. It doesn't have to be constant. We are always postponing happiness, right? Saying, if I have this, I'll be happy. If I have that, I'll be happy. And then you die and you've never been happy, right? But cats are seeking that in the small things all the time. So if they find a food, for example, that it's very addictive and they like it so much, it's like chocolate for us, right? And they will have a self delivery all the time, just to pour around you and ask you for it. They will do it, but it's not about demanding. It's that you created that bond. Because if you ignore them or you do other things, feed them better or whatever, then that won't happen. So what I always encounter is that we are not seeing any pet. Because we are not seeing ourselves. So we cannot see other animals or respect the way they are. We believe it's easier for us to believe that we domesticated them, and okay, they have to behave because we domesticated them. And this is what has to change for me.
It's constantly the expectation that they're going to fit in with us. Which is why I asked you, what are the challenges that cats face living in a human world? And because I'm very sensitive to the challenges that dogs face living in a human world. You've mentioned food several times.
Yes.
And obviously you're involved with, raw feeding. And although this isn't, I'd love to have you back to talk about nutrition at some point. Nevertheless, a number of times you've talked about food as though what cats are being fed is going to influence their behavior. So I think it would be good for you to elaborate on that and explain what you mean.
Okay. Well, cats, to make it easier, because we can, discuss nutrition further, but to make it simple, cats are carnivores, strict carnivores. They have a very simple physiology, but they are not efficient dealing with carbohydrates. Okay, they are very good dealing with proteins, but not with carbohydrates. It's not that they can't have them, or if it's good or bad for them. They are not efficient. So even if they want more glucose in their body to for the brain function or anything, they will first seek it from proteins than from carbohydrates, because it's faster, or fat. If we understand that, then we need to look for a food that contains that, mostly fat and proteins, and just a little bit, like less, the study says 13% or less of that, of carbohydrates. So if you understand that, then look at the food you're feeding your cat. Because at a certain point, of course, I would prefer raw food because of the quality of the ingredients, and it's raw, and it's mimicking their nature. But I understand also that cats are very stubborn sometimes. I would not say neophobic, I would say stubborn, or addicted to certain foods or pleasures, because they also nutrition is love. It is a way. Sometimes you will see that a cat that it's being pet, that you like, is an anxious cat, and he likes to be petted. Usually they will go and eat. They feel that comfort from eating. So it doesn't matter what food is in there. They're not thinking about if they are carnivores or not. They are just looking for that comfort. As I said, cats look for the instant pleasure, right? So if you're looking for a food, especially if you're having a behavior issue, the first thing you have to do is reduce the amount of carbohydrates, the ultra processed food. So you can even go from kibble to canned food. You can, I'm not saying you have to change, but there is I think we need to start learning about cats' nutrition, because it's not that easy. There is since all the commercial brands want to sell you food, they're going to add anything. And if you ask any manufacturer, they would say, I have to add things, otherwise I don't sell. And it's true. And I understand that. So even most canned foods in cats will contain some amount of flavoring or extra things to make it appealing for cats. So if you have a behavioral issue, then focus on nutrition as for the behavior itself, because nutrition is going to solve not all problems, but most of them. And then if you're not, at least I would say feed them half dry, half wet food. That's kind of the minimum for me, because they are not natural drinkers. They won't, they only will drink if they're very thirsty. And that's provided by kibble, but that the water will not be hydrating them. You need the food to be moist, and then they will take the water from it. So that's kind of the key points to understand cats' nutrition. Then your personal choices, your cat's personal choices, or how to transition food. That's another challenge. That's another thing.
Just listening to you there, it's funny because, as I said, we've had 3 cats. It never ever occurred to us to give them kibble. We did give them wet food, but the funny thing is that, and this is a time in our lives when we were not as aware of issues to do with, being sensitive, the need to be sensitive to animals, the need to be sensitive to, or to understand behavior. But we seemed to have been doing it instinctively, because although they would get cat food for one of their meals, then the other meal, we tended to give them things that we knew they really, really liked. And our second cat adored raw haddock. So every time we went shopping, we would buy him raw haddock. I don't even remember how we stumbled across this information.
Yeah.
I don't even remember how we found this out, but he did, and it was, we would buy him raw haddock. Our first cat, it was tuna. She adored tuna. So she used to have tuna every day. We used to say she would sell her soul for tuna. So she would have a bit of tuna every day. And this is, of course, in conjunction with whatever food we happened to be eating that they liked, the protein. Our third cat was a sucker for the mince of spaghetti bolognese, which we would make. She adored that. And we discovered, rather bizarrely, little bits of pineapple she liked. So we just used to follow kind of what they liked.
Yeah, but there is a fear that they set for you to, do not give the bolognese, do not feed pineapple. But
Yeah,
from everything you told me, I could find an explanation for everything.
yeah,
Because pineapple contains certain things that make digestion easier, or there's a fiber content, there is a sugar content that it's very potent. It's a very good food. So that's when actually I got to this idea after studying pharmacognosy. For me, that was a game changer, because I was trained as a vet to be to everything, how to do, you have to do this medication to get into the system. But when I learned about the pharmacognosy and I saw the animals choosing, you know, selecting the things that they needed, I was like, and what am I doing? Choosing for them when they know, you know? Well, sometimes it's hard to have all the plants in the world, but you can get an idea of what's going on with them. And the same happens with food. And you can get a lot of information from it, and then choose the right other foods to make it complete, or try. But we've been scared about the complete imbalance, which is crap. Sorry for that. It's all the cooked food, how it's supposed to be, we've been lied to many things to in order for us to buy things, right? I still listen to people saying, well, my cat is fat, so I will just buy a light food filled with carbohydrates. I'm like, yeah, that's not doing anything. Or, neuter cats, or, that we have different labels for different foods. And it's Maine Coon food. What has a difference of a Maine Coon food, right? Uh, and we, it seems easier for us, right? So it's okay, just grab this bag, this perfect, or this canned food, it seems perfect, right? But if you just tap into your common sense, probably we can make some mistakes, but it's not about being afraid of what others, the commercial world, it's telling you. We can tap into our common sense and say, well, if a cat is outside, what would my cat be eating if I let them outside? Okay, would we have wheat, rice, or would it have a mice instead, or or any bird or any insect before? So it all comes back to the same thing. Tap into your common sense again.
and it really is asking what would they naturally eat, and I think that was the thing that with our cats, one liked the mince, she liked minced beef, that's what she liked.
Mm-hmm.
And and the odd little bit of pineapple that she would ask for, but the others, it made perfect sense, it was fish. So I guess there is a question here that is cropped up in my mind. Is there we there's often this belief that cats eat fish, that they it's there's this link between cats and fish. Is there any truth in that because I found our cats liked both, although it does seem that, actually thinking about it, tuna and haddock fit in the fish category there. What do you know? Is this true? Is there a preference for fish?
I don't think there's a preference for fish. Actually, I only would suggest that, I mean, if a cat lives in an island, like the cats in Japan, they will eat fish a lot, and they will get they will get into the water to get it, you know. But cats in water, that's not always the case, right? So we have to again think about, would they do this? All cats would, or maybe a Norwegian forest cat, or maybe a cat in Japan living in an island, having the scraps of a seagull, or anything else, right? That would be their contact to fish. What I think it's, for example, from tuna, tuna has a texture similar to meat. And if you cook it, it looks pretty much like chicken. It may taste different. But in my case, what I've seen more often is they don't really like raw fish. Usually they would go for cooked. So it's kind of an adaptation for me that they like this kind of fish. They would have raw fish if it's very, very fresh.
Which it was,
Very fresh.
we would have just bought it. That's very interesting. And it's interesting what you talk about pairing, because really this is then about the opportunity or the exposure to. And growing up, of course, I grew up in Portugal, and the fishing villages, there would have been fish scraps everywhere, and maybe that's where that association might have come from. And
Yeah,
I've seen it in Greece as well. So yes, of course, they will have the opportunity there because the exposure is there, as our cats would also have had that opportunity and exposure because of me. And my
exactly.
yeah, makes perfect
But
sense.
it's not natural. It's not like, oh, cats love fish.
Exactly, because I
No.
that's why I asked you, because I thought it was odd, because as you say, they're unlikely in most cases to be going into water to catch fish themselves. They're much more likely to be catching birds or rodents. So, but that again, what it's bringing us back to is the need to think about their natural behaviors in order to be able to support them.
Mm-hmm.
They are living in a less natural
And
circumstance.
and one thing coming from this thing you mentioned from Portugal, uh, again, when we say that cats don't adapt or they don't like change, they can perfectly adapt. If food is the fish scraps that we have from the fisherman, they will have that happy and they
Yeah.
will feast on that, right? So they are capable of adjusting where, within surroundings, the humans, they are capable, but they are not at service like a dog would. They are with you alongside, but not, necessarily being involved in your life.
Yeah, it's the somebody might say that they don't have the work ethic.
Yeah.
Um, they subscribe to the pleasure principle,
Exactly.
and I think, and that's both true and untrue, because they obviously, if they're hunting, they are working. Uh,
Yeah.
so that's but what they're not going to do is perhaps work in partnership with us, as dogs are more likely to want to do. So
Mm-hmm.
so this is their joy, and you are reminding me in our conversation of how much I miss having a cat in my life.
Yeah. Yes, my job is done.
And Teddy and I need to have a serious conversation. Um, I think the joy of sharing life with any animal has to be about engaging with another species. And we have been talking about how cats are perfectly adaptable. I think we need to be less inflexible as a species and learn to adapt if we're wanting to live with another. And I think that if living with animals has taught me anything, it's taught me that I've invited them to come and share their lives with me,
Mm-hmm.
and it's up to me to learn the ways of another species and adapt to them.
Yeah.
So for that, I am immeasurably thankful to each and every animal I've had in my life. And I've lived, this is now my third species. The dog is my third species. So I think for everyone watching, this is, I hope, an inspiring conversation. And I thank you so much
Yeah, thank you.
for your time today. If people want to find you,
Mm-hmm.
how do you do that?
Well, they can find velvet.co.uk, or maybe just my name, because probably you'll find another website with my name, but that's mostly Spanish. And then you'll be hearing from me from well, I'm going to start using sound therapy with cats as well. Yeah, so that's kind of the new thing. So if you find me and say, yeah, but she was the nutrition kind of one, no. I look for the well-being of cats in general. And so yeah, if you want to subscribe, for example, to my newsletter in velvet.co.uk, you will hear everything that it's coming, because next year it's a lot of things coming. So yeah, that's the easy
How
way.
exciting. You are going to have to come back to talk about sound therapy for cats. I am
Yes.
so excited about that prospect. Well, thank you again. I'll be
Thank
putting
you.
a link to all of these things in the description box so that people can find you easily. And what a joy it is to have
Perfect.
you. Thank you.
Thank you. Also, if I forgot, if you look for me on Instagram, it's Velvet for Cats. That's the
Okay.
other, right?
Excellent.
Perfect. Thank you.
You all for watching. There's lots coming up. I think we're going to be talking about bull breeds very, very soon. Until next time, goodbye.
Bye.